Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. Alright guys, I was recently able to attend the Martin Moto Modern Classics Ride-In in Boyertown, PA. This show usually has the best turnout for the classic bikes that I'm really interested in, and there are so many great bikes that show up, from pre-60s bikes all the way to modern machines. I got to ride my 1979 KZ1000 shaft over to the show. It performed great on the way there and back. It was a beautiful ride to and from the show. The weather was absolutely perfect. I got to talk to so many great people at the show. There were so many fantastic bikes. And in this video, we'll take a look around at some of the great classic machines that were at the Martin Moto show. If you had a classic bike there and I missed it, I apologize. There were so many cool machines there, and I couldn't possibly cover all of them in one video. I want to say a big thanks to Martin Moto for hosting this show. It is great to have a local motorcycle shop owner who's invested in the classic motorcycle community. The Martin Moto facility is super impressive, and if you haven't been there, it's definitely worth the trip. Looking at my highlights from the show, we'll start with the classic Italian motorcycles. The first brand we'll look at is Ducati. And the first bike up is this gorgeous 750 Sport. This bike is pure mechanical artwork. What a beauty. This bike features a 90-degree air-cooled V-twin motor. These bikes feature a bevel drive for the top end of the motorcycle. With its high mount foot pegs and very low clip-on handlebars, the seating position on this machine is very racy for a motorcycle from the 70s. Here we can see that fantastic looking 90-degree V-twin. Moving on, we have another Ducati powered by a 90-degree V-twin. This Ducati is from the early 90s, and it's either the 900 Super Sport or the 750 Super Sport. I've always thought these were beautiful bikes, and this one's stunning in the red livery. Another great looking Italian bike from the 90s is this Moto Guzzi 1100 Sport. This is another Italian bike that features a very radical, very sporting seating position. I've always thought these were great looking bikes, and this one is such a nice, clean example. Moving on to the British machines, my friend Rob brought his 1956 Matchless to the show. It is a 550cc parallel twin. The next classic British bike we'll look at is the Norton 850 Commando. There were several of these at the show. Like the BSA, the Norton Commando features an air-cooled parallel twin engine, and the Norton Commandos have always been among the more collectible of the British bikes. The next bike we'll look at is this Triumph Bonneville. I know the paint on this one isn't standard, but I really like the lime green and white paint scheme. Moving on to a modern retro machine, we have this stunning Triumph Thruxton R. These bikes were introduced in 2016. They feature a 1200cc fuel-injected parallel twin motor in them. I absolutely love the styling on these. I think these are one of the best looking of the modern retro bikes. I recently got to ride one of these as well, and in all honesty, it's about as close to perfection as I've ever ridden in a modern retro motorcycle. These are so good, in fact, that I would love to have one of these in the garage. Moving on to the German bikes at the show. No motorcycle show would be complete without an R90S BMW, and there were several of them at the Martin show. I've always liked the styling on these motorcycles, and the R90S actually enjoyed some success in superbike racing when they were first introduced in the mid-70s. These are powered by a horizontally opposed, air-cooled twin-cylinder engine. Sitting next to the black and silver R90S in this photo is a red R100 GS, and BMW's GS style of motorcycles really started the whole adventure bike craze. Moving on to the Kawasaki's at the show, it was a real treat to see this KZ1300 inline six-cylinder at the show. These bikes were introduced in 1979. Both I and my father have owned KZ1300s previously, and I have reviewed those on this channel. You can click the link above to see that video. Unlike Honda's CBX six-cylinder, which was designed to be a sporting machine, the KZ1300 was really designed to be a big bore touring machine. Another iconic Kawasaki is this super clean ZX11. These bikes held the title for fastest bike in the world from 1990 through 1996, and their top speed of 176 miles an hour was only marginally bested by Honda's Blackbird when it came out in 1997. In this picture, you can see my KZ1000 shaft. This bike featured Kawasaki's big bore inline 4-cylinder motor. I've reviewed the KZ1000 shaft previously. You can click the link above to see that review. Here we have an early 80s Kawasaki 1000R. This is the Eddie Lawson replica bike. These came from the factory with a Kirker 4-into-1 exhaust. And these are a tribute to the Eddie Lawson superbikes that were so successful for Kawasaki during the time. Here we have a 1979 Kawasaki Z1R. This bike features the same motor that is found in my KZ1000 shaft, although the Z1R is a sporting model and it features chain final drive. This beautiful machine is Kawasaki's Z1 900. It's probably the most collectible of the Kawasaki motorcycles, and it's among the most expensive and collectible of the Japanese motorcycles, period. Not only were these bikes beautiful, they were powerful, they were fast, they were smooth, they were reliable, and they set the standard for big 4-cylinder machines from 1973 onward. The only street bike that would give Kawasaki's Z1 a run for its money in a straight line was Kawasaki's own 750cc 2-stroke triple. Although these bikes were fast, they were quite unrefined to ride. Additionally, they were more than a handful for most riders. Moving on to one of my favorite Kawasaki's of all time. This is the early 90s ZX7. The ZX7 was a very successful race bike for Kawasaki, and when I was in high school, Scott Russell won the Daytona 200 multiple times on a ZX7. This is a modern Kawasaki ZX14, and I think it's so cool that Kawasaki did the throwback livery on this machine. Moving on to the Hondas at the show, we have this very unique looking factory custom from Honda. It's the Honda Rune. This bike is based on the GL 1800 Goldwing, but it has a crazy linkage type front suspension and love it or hate it custom styling. These bikes are becoming very collectible. Here's another great Honda that I have owned previously. This is the 1983 CB 1100F. These bikes battled with the 83 GPZ 1100 from Kawasaki and Suzuki's GS 1100E. I have reviewed the CB 1100F on this channel previously. You can click the link above to see that video. Another great Honda that I've owned in the past is the ST 1100. This was Honda's sport touring machine on the late 80s and early 90s, and this bike went head-to-head with Kawasaki's Concours 1000. I like the way this one looks with the cut-down front fairing and without the bags on the back. And that brings us to another super popular classic Honda, and that is Honda's CBX 1000 6-cylinder. This bike features a 24-valve, air-cooled, inline 6-cylinder motor. That motor is fed by a bank of 6 carburetors, and the CBX was Honda's entry into the big bore sporting arena in 1979. Over the course of production, Honda changed the CBX into more of a sport touring machine. They added a Honda line fairing and integrated saddlebags to the bike. It still featured that big 6-cylinder motor, but it was geared more for touring, and it was no longer marketed as a top-tier sport bike. It was great to see this first year Goldwing at the show. This is the GL 1000. And although all of the other Japanese manufacturers developed large displacement touring bikes to compete with the Goldwing outlasted every competitor and is still considered to be the gold standard of touring motorcycles. This bike is Honda's stunning RC51. This motorcycle was a homologation special, and the RC51 is literally a race bike with lights. It was developed specifically for superbike racing to compete with the successful Ducati 1000cc machines of the time. I have owned one of these previously, and it was positively miserable as a street bike. It was beautiful, it sounded wonderful, but it was a very demanding and uncomfortable bike to ride. In the background of this photo, we can see the red, white, and blue VFR 800. I've always thought that this generation of VFR looked best in the red, white, and blue color scheme. There were quite a few of the Honda CB750 4-cylinders at the show. This is one of the early CB750s. It is in stunning condition. Here we can see a later model mid-70s CB750. And while it retains the 4x4 exhaust and the single overhead cam engine from the original, the styling has been significantly changed. There was even a 1976 CB750 automatic at the show. These bikes are fairly rare, and you don't see them too often on the street. My friend Harold brought his beautiful 1984 Nighthawk 700S to the show. I have recently reviewed the Nighthawk 700S. You can click the link above to see that video. Another one of my favorite classic Hondas is the CB550 and 500 4-cylinder bikes. Performance-wise, these machines handle much better than Honda's larger CB750. In addition, they don't give up much in terms of straight line performance to the larger CC bike. I've also reviewed a CB550 on this channel, and you can click the link above to see that video. One of the somewhat rare collectible Hondas that was at the show was this 450 Black Bomber. Prior to the 750 4-cylinder, this was Honda's top-of-the-line sporting model. Moving on to the Yamahas, there was a crazy GTS 1000 sidecar rig at the show. The GTS 1000 is very unique because it has a single-sided swing arm for the front suspension, much like Bimota's Tessie motorcycle. I've never seen one of these done up as a sidecar rig, and this is a truly unique piece. It was great to see Yamaha's Seika 900 at the show. This is an air-cooled inline 4-cylinder with shaft final drive. These bikes were very popular in Europe, but because they didn't pack the straight line performance of the other big bore bikes, they were not very popular in the US. It was a real treat to get to see this one at the show. Another really cool retro bike at the show was this Yamaha XSR 900. These feature a 900cc liquid-cooled inline 3-cylinder motor. It's a very entertaining motor, and I love the color scheme on this one with the white and orange with the gold wheels. Moving on to the Suzukis at the show, there was a gorgeous GS 1000S West Cooley replica at the show. In a similar fashion to Kawasaki's Eddie Lawson replica bikes, this Suzuki was meant to pay homage to the Suzuki superbikes of the time. The GS 1000S is one of the most collectible of the Suzuki motorcycles. The final bike we'll take a look at here is Suzuki's GT380. This is an air-cooled 3-cylinder 2-stroke machine. It features Suzuki's crazy ram air system on the top of the motor. I think that looks pretty cool, and it was a real treat to get to see this one at the show. Alright guys, I would love to know what you think. If you were able to get out and attend the Martin show, please let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you have a favorite among the bikes that I featured in this video, please let me know. I just want to give a quick shout out to all my subscribers and channel members, and those of you who post in the comment section of this channel. Thank you guys. I really appreciate the support, and I could not do this without you. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, enjoy the ride.